Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi. Happy weekend.
Hi. Hey.
Hello.
Hola, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Buongiorno. Konnichiwa.
Yeah.
We learnt arigato this week.
Yeah.
Now we know what that means.
Yeah.
How are we all doing? It's a very, very bright Monday. Weirdly.
Yeah, it was
record
really
on
cloudy this morning, but it really pulled it together.
It's actually very humid here in the studio today. I don't know about you guys, but it is. It feels very, very warm.
Yeah.
But I am Eliz.
I'm Lilyemma.
Welcome back to Blunt Vibrations.
Yeah, episode 29.
Growing up.
I know, pushing 30.
I was saying, because I was we have like a shared notes page, and I put all of my ideas on there, and I was like, we now have enough ideas for essentially the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to think, this is going to sound really weird, but the amount of ideas and then the number watching it go up, that it would go up to like 60.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't want to delve into it too much because I'm sure we will talk about it in the next episode, but it's crazy that we've done 29 Champagne Whispers.
I know.
Like, that's crazy to me. Like, that feels like a lot.
We've just spoken so much.
Yeah.
About so many things.
If you think like each episode probably averages out to like an hour, that's 29 hours of us speaking.
How did you guys feel if you are... I mean, this is the thing. If someone asked, if I was listening to a podcast and they asked for feedback, I probably wouldn't give it. But if you're the type of person that would give it, the last episode was slightly shorter. By slightly, it was actually like a third of the length of some of the other ones.
I mean, we aimed for 45 minutes and it was half an hour.
Yeah, but our old ones used to be,
Yeah.
an hour and a half. So it was a third of those ones. Do you guys prefer the longer ones or the shorter ones? Because we've cut down, definitely. But that was a very nice pace to it.
Yeah.
But let us know if you have any thoughts either which way.
Yeah.
And this week, we are talking about... This is such a mammoth topic. Like, it
Yeah, but
actually is never ending.
But we are just going to kind of keep it short again. Like, it'll be another short episode, kind of more just like base level tips rather than like
and just what
a deep dive. Because I don't want to go into it too much that like we can never talk about it in the future.
There's always more to say. This is the thing. Like, I just put this question or this idea on TikTok as well. What we are discussing this week is overcoming comparison of a productive friend. And it's clear that whilst it feels like we personally talk about it so much, but it's clear that we don't talk about it in life enough as well, because someone just commented to say no, they have no tips. And it's like,
what, that was in that? I thought that was in one of your other TikToks.
No, like, they have no tips, and it's like, that's like an unfortunate position to be in. How can you help yourself? Or like, there's not enough like resources.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit of a weird one. No one wants to say, I'm comparing myself to my friend.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, I need help in a relationship, or just like general career advice and things like that. But when it comes to dynamics within friendships, it's a bit of like an uglier topic.
Yeah, I think it kind of feels like you want to sabotage your friend if you're saying that you're jealous of them. But I do think it is a natural emotion. I feel like we always say this. Like, it's a very natural feeling. I think everyone kind of feels it. And as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, it can be fine. But I think the problem is that a lot of people don't address it or acknowledge that the jealousy is there. And that's when it becomes a problem, because that's when you're either consciously or subconsciously sabotaging, getting in the way, not kind of letting them be jeweled.
We went to a Taylor exhibition earlier, so that might be where that came from.
So yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying there.
And it's a difficult one. I really like sympathise with it as well. And it doesn't make anyone happy. You're not going to be happy the thought of thinking, oh, like, I can't stop thinking about my friend's progress, like, in comparison to my own. If it then does bleed into the way you act towards them, or they might feel that they can't speak to you about things, or there might just be this wedge, whether you've put it there or it's just found itself there because you're either saying the wrong thing or you're not talking enough, then you don't want to lose the friendship over it. I think that's a very like extreme case of it. But it could, if you feel like, you know what, I can't hear about my friend's wins anymore, where are mine? You might end up cutting the friend off, which is, it's not a nice thing for you or them.
I mean, I kind of had a counter argument to that. I kind of thought that it can be okay to be kind to yourself and say, I actually don't think I can be around this person. I actually don't, unless it's like someone you're really close to that you can't like possibly kind of distance. Like, I'm not saying you need to cut out a whole person, but I do think if more people normalised putting distance between you and a friend, if you felt like there was too much overlap, that it was making you feel bad, I think a lot of like pain would be like minimised on both sides. I kind of had this example of, for example, someone at uni, and it was like, well, I can't spend time with them at uni anymore because they make me feel so like bad about my own grades because they're so good. I don't think there should be shame in taking a step back and not necessarily being mean to that person or kind of upsetting yourself and distancing yourself, but also kind of think, is that the lesser of two evils, that actually I'm not going to talk to them about uni and I'm going to be really sad that we're kind of missing out on that bond, but also why would I keep torturing myself if I've tried to get over it? Like, this was kind of my more of my closing thought, because it's obviously like you take steps before that, but I do think like that is also fine.
I think then, before even going on to the tips of how to overcome it, the biggest thought that we have today is that you have to think within yourself, going off of what you've said, how much do you value this friendship? Because if this is someone that is just on your course and it's just getting a bit rivalry, you don't like it, it's not fulfilling you in any way, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to be like, you don't make me feel good, we both don't feel good, so I'm going to walk away. However, if it's an actually really true friend, you really do love and value them as a person, so you couldn't possibly think of getting rid of them.
You need to work a bit harder on yourself.
Yeah.
But I do think, as I've grown up, I've kind of realised there's no point having friends just because. And if you feel like this friend you just have because it's convenient, I don't see a problem in being like, actually I don't want to be around you because like you make me feel bad about myself, without realising, and that's okay, you're doing really well, but it then makes me feel sad. Like, I leave every interaction and I think, oh, they're in such a better position than me. I don't see a problem.
I think it's also maybe considering, is it just one person? Is it a handful of people?
Yeah.
And it's not this person just won't stop saying, like, I'm already down and they kick me? Or is it more, all of my friends are progressing, they're all doing these things, they're also productive in their ways, it's my shortcomings or the luck of the draw did this or what, and then it's that's the tips that you need to be like overcoming it for all of your friendships, so that you're not feeling, why am I further back in life?
Yeah, I kind of saw it as a case study rather than kind of the bigger things. I think there's things to say about that forever, but I do think I just think if a friendship's not serving you, I think it's fine to cut them off. Like, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. I feel like it is based on what you're saying, but I just think if it's making you feel bad and there's nothing you can do about it, I think that's fine. I'm not saying you need to like message them and be like, I'm breaking up with you because I don't want to be around you. I just think just stop making plans as much, see them less frequently, because also the less frequently you see them, the more wins you'll have, so you can talk about. But if you're seeing them every week and they work in this big, I don't know, like TV industry, and every week they've just like worked on a new TV show, but you're not, you're a student and you actually don't get feedback on an essay until every like 3 months, you need to just lower how much you see the person so that your life, like the pace of your life kind of lines up, because you're not going to be at the same pace.
Yeah, I think it's also, because you were just saying if it's like a student versus someone working in a different realm, how much of your paths really are the same, because it might feel like there's a huge comparison there when there's not so much. Like you said, if it's a student versus an office job or someone who works on a cruise ship, they might be getting these big wins, so you would say, but how much does it really affect your life? You know, you as a student, if you got this huge, you know, you passed first year PhD, huge win. If someone then, I'm pulling people out here, unfortunately, but like Caitlin as the makeup artist, there isn't the direct comparison.
Yeah.
If she felt like she was comparing to you in a way, well, what is she going to pass? She's just going on to the makeup, and it's the other way around. She might have got this client, this huge, really good, like almost a contract or maybe a brand deal or something. But if you're in the academic realm, there isn't so much of a crossover, and whilst it might feel that they're going leaps and bounds beyond, do you want what they want? Like, is that something that you even want in your life?
Yeah.
Because that will be a lot easier to get over.
Yeah.
Or come to terms with, at least, if you're not in the same, what was the word, like sector?
Yeah.
Or something. But if it is, say, someone on the same uni course as you, or just in closer proximity, or if you've both gone for the same job, if you're friends with someone, say you both went for like a teaching position and you got it over someone or they got it over you, that might be a little bit more difficult to be like, well, that doesn't affect me, because it did in that zone, but that's very rare.
As someone who's in a very competitive field, I think I live a very happier life in just having less people around me, because I think if you're naturally one of the, like, I know that I'm naturally one of those people that constantly feels like I'm not hitting enough targets, and I think it is a result of like that I appreciate that I have to work harder than a lot of people who it comes naturally to. Like I said this before on the podcast, it does not come naturally to me at all. I've always liked literature. It's never come naturally to me to think in big sentences and big vocabulary and like understand historical timelines, and I really struggle. And for the past 4 or 5 years, I have seen people who just float through, and their parents pay for everything and they live at home, and I would be there like working my part-time job and things like that, and it is harder. And I genuinely do think like it got to the point where I was like, I actually don't have the capacity to even keep in touch with the friends that I do have. So I'd rather just have a smaller circle and feel happier than be friends with people who like wasting energy on people who I'm comparing myself to.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
It's also a situation of if you're in a social group and you're all, you know, I got this promotion, I've got this, I've taken up these hours here, and you're feeling it's not that safe space to be like, hey guys, not even tone it down, because you wouldn't want to, you know, dim anyone else's successes, but if you're not feeling it's that space where you're feeling validated or heard in what you have to say either, and it's all people, they're probably not bragging, but seemingly you can't get a wording, so all it is them, and it's not peaceful for your mind. And if you're all about protecting your peace, you might need to take
and that's
back.
the stance that I take, is that I'm kind of think like I protect my peace and not having people around that I think I would feel like I'm constantly competing with, and I'm not really around competitive people anymore, because I just think like I'm just trying to get it through life, and I'm content with me doing that. But if I'm with someone who's like, I need to write like 10k a month, I'm never going to be able to be friends with you, because that's just not my attitude. I also do think like you need people around you who like regardless of whether they're more productive than you, they give you the space to talk about your own wins, even if it's not on the same scale. And I also think it's important that the other way around, that I feel like sometimes, especially like at different stages, I'll be like, wow, I don't know, I'm finding this really hard and I'm not enjoying this, and I'll have people be like, yeah, but it's incredible, like you like it's so good, and I'll be like, yeah, but like, you know, even like grade wise, you know what I mean, like I always wanted to get a first in my masters because I didn't in my undergrad, and if I didn't get a first, people would be like, yeah, but you got a 2-1 that's really good. I appreciate that, and I don't say that it's not, but I still think like you both need to understand, like for the sake of the conversation, you both need to meet in the middle, and someone like you as the friend should be able to be like, you're allowed to want more in the same way that you're allowed to give me the space to celebrate my smaller wins. Do you know what I mean? I think it's like a compromise that takes a lot of energy, but I think if you truly care about the friendship and it's something that actually is important to you, you can do that.
Yeah, I've said on your first point of like celebrating your wins even if they're different or they could be seen as lesser, I think you shouldn't disregard your own successes.
Yeah.
No matter what stage they are, this other person might seem leaps and bounds ahead of you, but if you've, you know, got this client or whatever it is, an interview or just something that you didn't have before and you're working towards something, and here's an opportunity of some kind, or you've had recognition in some way, I don't think that should be disregarded.
Yeah.
Because there's people who are now top of their corporate ladder,
Yeah.
or, you know, same age as you, but they're like now got 3 to 5 years of experience in this role, and
Yeah.
you've just got your interview in something that's entry level. Like, that's still a win because you didn't have that, you wanted it, and yeah, it's not come at the same pace, but a slower pace isn't nothing. Like, it's still something there for you to celebrate.
Yeah.
And I think that would be quite telling of the people around you as well, of can they celebrate your smaller wins? Do they still take that as a, wow, congratulations, you've done this? Or are they looking at you like, okay, well, you know, I did that like 3 years ago. Like, that's such a, whoa, you need to take a step back there. And, you know, you don't want to be around those people.
Yeah.
You want them to be like, oh my gosh, you've got an interview here, or you've got this 1 week of work experience. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not
I
patronising.
think it's separating it, isn't it? It's that, like, that's your situation, this is my situation. I can hear you complaining or celebrating something and not apply it to myself. And that's why, like, I think you either need to, like, work on yourself or take time out that you can look at it from a more, like, level view, so that you can do that kind of meeting in the middle if you feel like it's so, like, overwhelming that you can't possibly hear someone's wins. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of, like, work to be done there, whether that's within the friendship or on your own. And I think that's kind of what you were saying earlier about whether it's, you need to think about whether it's a this person thing or whether it's everyone in your life. You always feel like this, regardless of what they're doing.
Yeah.
How different it is from yours. You're always feeling like you're comparing yourself.
Yeah, because if it's just the one person, then maybe it's more of a more, you know, personal thing. But if it is everyone, then maybe it's a, what can I do to reach this stage where, you know, outside information won't hurt me, or I won't analyse it a lot more than I perhaps need to, or should really take up the space, like, in my mind and heart and things like that.
I think something that helps is to think that if you're feeling unproductive or unsuccessful, someone else has also felt like that. Do you know what, like, no one's ever, like, gone through life and never felt that once. And I think that demystifies almost the person, because you think, like, oh, they're being so much more successful than me, but you can think, well, they've had stages when they felt unsuccessful and unproductive. And then also, like, I think it kind of reminds you that they could just be telling you your wins. And I think that's another thing where it comes down to the friendship and picking your friends correctly, in the sense of, I'm at the stage now where I don't want people who can't tell me, like, the losses, because, like, I think
It's not transparent at all.
and I really value and I appreciate that it's hard sometimes to build that relationship that you feel like you can say, oh, actually, I just had this. But I like to, especially when building new friendships, I like to make sure I have a space where someone can be like, oh, I actually, like, got this job rejection today, regardless of, like, whether they are, like, a senior position in their role and they're applying to other senior positions. I'd like to think that they can come to me still and be like, oh, I actually got rejected, so I'm feeling a bit rubbish today. And I think this is one of the reasons why then you don't struggle with this whole comparison thing, because you can actually pinpoint, they might be going for a senior position, you might be going for a junior position, and then when you get rejected for the junior position, you can think, well, that's okay, because so-and-so got rejected from their position. Do you know what I mean? And I think something that I always find the hardest, and something that I try to communicate to people, is when they almost, like, don't quite tell you the truth. Do you know what I mean? When it's like you've got that one friend that is always winning at everything and is always getting a pay rise and is always, like, having positive experiences, and, like, sometimes you have to be like, but, like,
It's not realistic.
no, and it's not nice.
It's the humbling moments that make for community.
Yeah.
When everyone can share, you know, like, I got this, like, I got absolutely ripped at work today for this, or, like, I did this and I didn't get as much feedback as I would have wanted, or if it's more an online thing, it didn't. I really thought this was going to be the hard hitter, but I got 2 views
makes you feel
and things
less
like
bad when it happens. You know, even like simple levels. That when we were getting ready to go out for Caitlin's birthday, I got mascara smeared across my eyelid, and I was so annoyed. I was like, that's so annoying. Like, just done this. And even the simple things like Caitlin goes, God, I do that work all the time. She's a professional makeup artist.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it was hard. And she told me to put a spoolie, and I was like,
real.
And then the moment she went in the bathroom, I didn't know what was that. But it's simple things like that, and I think that's kind of the small snippet. Do you know what I mean? Even in that moment, you can think it would be really easy to sit there and be like, I'm so rubbish at makeup. Do you know what I mean? But because you have that other person validating your feelings, you then don't feel like it's that bad. And I think that's the kind of friendships you need. The friendships who like are there to celebrate regardless. You're also both there to listen to the downs, and you can say them freely.
I think there's gonna naturally be less comparison when you're seeing like the 360 view of how someone else has got to their position.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you have this friend and they're on their they're in their bag right now, or they're looking like they have all these opportunities come their way, but you're like, no, but you know what, I know how it's been. Like, they have put in so many interviews, like they've been rejected from, like the amount of applications they've put through. I know they did 5 in one day. Like, that's crazy. You can't compare it, because if you're then like, I mean, I have only applied for 1 job in the last 2 months, so like, can I really compare that I didn't get the one when they got 1 out of 100? But you know, if they had never said anything, and I suppose this depends on the comfort levels between you two, how close you really are as people. But if you're quite close friends, to the level of, you know, a lot of people we have around us, if they would have never said anything and they were just like, I got the job, then it's no detriment to anyone, but you might feel like you're comparing more because you're like, God, like, they got the one. But that doesn't mean they just applied for the one, but you might think it. And
this is what I mean by, like, I just don't think it's worth having those friendships. At least, like, those friendships that take up considerable amount of time and effort. I think you can have those friendships, but don't have them as deep. Because inevitably, no matter how much you try and work on it, and you can go away, work on it, go back, and it's still the case, it's not worth your time, energy, upset. It's genuinely not. And that's maybe a friend that you just need to see now and then, have a conversation with, like, get a coffee now and then. They go and say, oh yeah, I've got this, this and this, and you can leave and be like, yeah, but it's not actually like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like when you've got close friendships with people like that, you can't get out. Like, it is such a like almost like snow globe. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, you can't see it, and the moment you're outside of it, you can think, well, actually it wasn't like that. I've had friendships like that before, where the person looks like their life is amazing. You get out of the friendship and you think, oh my gosh,
like they were probably blagging half of it.
Yeah, while I was sat there being like, oh, I'm actually a bit sad today, they were sat there being like, yeah, I never get like that. But they probably were, they were just hiding it. Yeah, because there's some people, I think there actually is just a spectrum of people that you could be coming into contact with that is like this. Some people just generally have a lot of wins, but they're quite humble about it, be like, God, wow, like, that's really gone their way. Yeah. Some people do not lie to their friends, but they will only show the good side, because, I mean, some people aren't just that nice, and they're like, yeah, of course I'm going to be telling you all of my wins, because then it's going to seem like I'm the coolest friend, and everyone's going to, you know, when we're doing the girls' bathroom drinking game, and it's like, who's the most productive friend, or who's the most successful friend? They're all going to choose me, and I have such a satisfaction, like, level 1,000 for that. Like, there's people either side. I just started that sentence and no idea where I was going with that then. There's just people, and it can be quite exhausting to be around. Someone being humbler with it, and someone who's just so obsessed with their kind of the perception of themselves. And I think we all are, and that's why I think this kind of jealousy of other people's productivity comes into play, is that ultimately you want to do well, you want to feel fulfilled, and that's what they want to do. And in kind of standing there and saying, well, yeah, I just got a job, you know, like easy work, first job that I applied for, and it's not actually, but it's that whole pride thing. is that a lot of people find it hard to say, actually, I got rejected for this, or like, I actually applied for this job 3 times in a row. Like, they've hired 2 other people. This is the only time that I actually got through to the interview stage.
One thing I'll tell you guys is I do not have pride when it comes to that. I will say when I've been rejected to people, because I do think it helps.
Yeah, and it makes everyone else feel better, you know.
How many times do I have to tell you that I got rejected from Soho House? 1 million times. And I know that's what you were thinking of. Since the last time I got through to an interview stage of Soho House and got rejected again.
And you know, I think I said it on the podcast as well. The moment anyone ever tells me about a rejection, I tell them about that, because I'm this is horrible, and it's horrible getting that email. But Eliz once got her rejection email 50 times.
One thing I'll say is if you want to be friends with people that don't make you feel bad for being less productive, I'm one of them. And that's not because of things that I've faced or whatever, but because I'm so open about no, things can be so bad.
Yeah.
And also just celebrating anything. If you're around people, this isn't me specific, although maybe I do for this category. I think I do, actually, to be fair.
Back yourself.
You could have one good thing. That's a party. Okay, what treats are we getting in tonight? You've done one singular good thing. We're getting cookies. We're getting the porn star martini because it's been a good day for something.
Yeah, and I think it then helps when you celebrate the small wins, because then when you hear someone else's slightly bigger win, instead of thinking, oh, I wish that was me, you can kind of go, oh my god, that's amazing, and you can still get that satisfaction of that's great, but I just did this and I'm still happy with that. Whereas I feel like when
the cookies are still left over from my big win.
Yeah, and I think when you don't allow yourself the space to kind of indulge in the wins regardless of the size, that's when you have that that's when the jealousy is almost painful, because you can't see the other side of it. It's just this kind of big red vision, thinking well, how come she got a new job? She's only been in her position for 6 months, and I've been unhappy in mine for a year. And you think, yeah, but I'm unhappy. But I got really good feedback the other day, so
I'm kind of slaying in my
do you know what I mean? And I think everyone's always at their own pace. That I feel once you realise that, even if you're it's kind of what I was saying earlier, even if you're on the exact same track, you're on the exact same course, your productivity is going to be different because you have different things. It could be that you have a shorter attention span. It could be that you work a job that other people don't have.
There's too many variables.
You've got external stressors. It's even if you're on the exact same plan as someone else, you're not.
You're not the same person at all.
Yeah.
Even your twin, you can have an identical twin. You actually do have the same genetics, but even so, you could go for the same job or set of jobs, and it doesn't necessarily. There's so many things that could be factors, even if it's an interview situation. The person interviewing you might be different to someone else, or you go into that room and the vibe just really wasn't there. The other person goes into the room, they're cracking jokes left, right and centre. It's just you never really know.
Eliz is CEO of telling me that because I work, I'm not even scared to say this or not, because I'm probably the only one on my cohort who actually works, because everyone else is fully funded, I consistently, and this is how you know that we're qualified for this, I consistently feel jealousy that they have Monday to Friday all day every day to just sit down and research. And it's something that I'm aware that is a problem within myself, and I chose to do it, but it is something that that's always a little voice in my head. And Eliz is always the one to be yeah, but they could be working Monday to Friday in the library, but they're unproductive. Do you know what I mean? They could go Monday to Friday and actually only read 5 pages, whereas I'm doing work 10 to 5, I'm coming home and I'm getting more work done. Yeah,
because it's even the case of learning difficulties and things like that, declared or not declared, you don't quite know. But they might look at the time you have and think my attention span, if I could just do something in bursts, here's my set few days of doing it. However, when I'm around the house, I have to do my housework and things like that, and that's taking up, have to look after this family member. It's the perspective of seeing both sides and realising that sometimes no one's winning over the other.
Yeah, and I also think it's important when on the case of productivity, and I say this to people at work all the time, is that like no one actually is productive all day every day. And the amount of people that I'll speak to at work and they're like, oh, I've had a really unproductive day today, and I even have to tell myself this a lot of the time, is that like if every day was productive, it wouldn't, like that would never happen, because you need those unproductive days to kind of recharge, and then you go in the next day and it kind of gives you that push to get things done. In the same way as if I have a research day but I actually only research for half the day because I needed to like change my bedding, I needed to tidy the house, I needed to do laundry, I don't let myself say that that's an unproductive day, because it was productive, just in different ways.
It's been split between the different areas of what you needed to be productive on at that time.
Which then puts a flaw in the fact of you looking at someone thinking, oh, they're in a better job than me, so they're more productive in hitting their goals. Well, that's not an argument, because they've just got different weightings. You never know, like they might never have time to tidy their room, or they might really like struggle in maintaining friendships to the point where like they actually like their friendships dissolved, you know, things like that. It's productive in different ways.
It's also it always feels like there's this trail, you know. This is the only like not metaphor but thing I can say is, you know, when you are trying to sell a house and you're waiting for the people next to you to sell the house so you can do that, but then you have to sell yours but they're waiting to sell theirs first, you know, there's that trail. With this productivity thing, I did not say that right. It's a trail again. Like if I look at you and think you are the productive friend, you get all of this, like the degrees, the jobs, the this, the that, then there would be someone probably behind me saying, you have a job, that is so productive. How do you get out of bed 5 days a week? The person behind them might be like, you're so productive because you don't have a job but you edit your videos all day, you do this all day. Person behind me like, all I can ever do is support my family in this way. So like, it's going forward, and I don't know how much that comforts you, but you might find comfort in that, is that it's differing levels, it's perspective, it's all subjective as well, like what really is productive. I
think if you find that you feel negative towards your productivity based on other people, that will help. I think if it's a more internal thing, then you kind of think, well, that's not me. So you can want to have that, but I want more. Do you know what I mean? But I definitely think if it's like a friendship thing, that's how you can separate it. But I think if it's an internal, that's a big like deep dive, you know, some real journal entries there.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you are stuck in this rut and everyone around you, all the friendships, this and that, are just life's working out in certain ways, it can feel very isolating. And it's not just to say like you have to work on it this second, like you're horrible, you have to, you know, remove yourself. Like there probably is some of that, not necessarily horrible but other words, but it can just be very uncomfortable. You might also just not really feel like it's the safe space to be saying, can you guys not talk about your wins, because you don't want to be
that person
stopping other people bejeweled.
I think this is why
want that for anyone.
This is why I endeavour to have friendships that people share their losses. I think is that you can't expect people to not tell you their wins when you're feeling down, and I want to be able to do that. Like it gives me joy in being able to celebrate other people and see other people happy. However, it genuinely does help when there's someone saying like, oh, like I'm actually feeling a bit rubbish today. I actually like really just wasn't productive, because it makes you realise that other people have it too. Whereas if we all just lived this fake picture perfect life, everyone's going to feel rubbish because no one's ever talking about it. Whereas I love it when my friends tell me like if things going wrong, because you can talk it through. It's the same way as like I think I've become kinder to myself since doing the podcast, because you then talk someone else through a job rejection, so that when you have that job rejection, A, you know what to say because you've just said it to someone else, and B, that then person is going to be able to help you out as well.
One thing I will say about this podcast is that it's so good. I love like to say this to you as well, is we've spoken about these things on the podcast, and I
Liz
say
always tells me off.
but it's, well, I don't tell you off, but I always say, and this is true because I would take this same advice, is we give advice to people if the situation arises. What have you said to them?
Yeah.
If someone said that to you, you would take it. So say it to yourself and take it.
Yeah.
And it kind of is true with this as well. If someone else was coming up to you saying, you know, like, I can't stop comparing myself,
Yeah.
you would be saying, you know, you're on your own path.
Just be happy on yourself.
Well, it's easier said than done, but try not to let these external factors remove your happiness. So you have to kind of take it yourself as well. Because ultimately, all of this, they do say it, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's true.
Yeah.
Not only is it a thief of joy, it's a thief of time. If you're actually spending this time worried and like, it's not nice for you. Like, I do feel bad for the situation that you are in, because no one wants to look inside themselves and feel unhappy at their situation when other people's are. There's downsides to everyone's lives, of course, but on the surface of what they aim to achieve in this world, they're getting there and you're not. It's really tough, but the more time you spend on that instead of like trying to thrive yourself or put your eggs into the basket of, you know, applications and really progressing further for you, years are going to have gone by.
Yeah.
Like, months will have happened and you'll be like, my New Year's resolution this year was to get a new job, but if you were so stuck on comparing
feeling
to why
rubbish because someone else has got a new job.
Yeah, they just got a job on the 2nd of January and I didn't, and now I've dwelled on this for months. Like, it's so tough, of course, but now the next new year is going to roll around again, and because you were spending that time upset and comparing, of course, then it is going to stop your own achievements.
Yeah.
Like, comparing other people's productivity is going to hinder your own productivity. And that is it's an easy thing to say and then actually embody that, but it is true.
I agree.
And I think my big takeaway tip is, if these things aren't happening for you right now, it's not to say it's never going to. And whichever realm you're in, I can't talk as much in a corporate way, but I can definitely talk in a creative way, that if other people seem to be getting things and you're not, it is clearly a different path. You're your own parallel lines with your friends. You're not the same life. It's these two ships passing quite closely.
Yeah.
You know, you might yell at each other from these ships, but you're on your own thing, and they might dock somewhere after, you know, half an hour and go get their food. Your food is over there. You're on your way to it. You're just docking in
and
2 hours time.
I think you need to take time out and be kind to yourself in whatever way that may be. Whether that's in a case of, you know, sitting down and thinking about, well, I've done this that they've not done, or taking the time when things do happen to you to really savour that feeling, or in just distancing it. If it's that unbearable, like, I really think if you're that wrapped up that you're having to be like, how do I stop? I think you just need to say, like, I just need a breather, or I just need to, like, just live in my own little bubble for a while, if it's that unbearable. Because I do think, in the same way that you wouldn't, like, expect someone to be in a relationship with someone who isn't making them feel good, I think there is reason to distance yourself from a friend who you feel like isn't taking your feelings into account. And if that's how you feel with them kind of rubbing in their achievements, then take it away.
They sound like a great person anyway. If they are rubbing it in. Because if this is, we're close friends, we're like good friends to each other. If I felt that you were rubbing anything into me, near me, I don't know, not to me, but you know what? Rubbing it in around me about the things about what you were achieving, and I really thought, like, you are just doing this to, like, upset me or push me down, then I could exit. But you would like to think in a situation like this, I'd be like, hey,
I think you can tell.
Like, hey, I'm not doing the best. I am so happy for your wins. I'm not in a headspace. We say this a lot when it comes to, like, mental health and things like that. I'm not in a headspace to be receiving this information. And it sounds really harsh to say to someone,
But they'll realise when they're in the same situation that it's like that.
Because if they can't take that, then that's you need to get out of the friendship. They're not respecting you.
But you just need to protect your peace sometimes, I feel. Like, I'm at, like... It's hard to say I'm at my happiest academically, but I think I'm at my most content now that I don't have anyone else to compare to. I think it can feel isolating, but as long as you've got like friends elsewhere who do celebrate your wins, and even if they don't understand your work or whatever, they're still there for that. I genuinely think sometimes you're better off without people like that.
Yeah, because when you get really good feedback, if there's, like 1 comment or 2 comments or something, and then after a week you get it done and you submit it, if there isn't the people around you being like, I submitted mine a week ago, or I actually had no comments. Like, what you don't know can't hurt you.
And I just think that sometimes if you're that close in spheres and in competitiveness, and I just don't have the time for competitivity. Really don't. And sometimes people don't realise they're doing it, and I just think if you're supposed to be friends, they're not gonna, you're not gonna be feeling like this. I genuinely do believe that, unless they're so excited by this thing that they're not realising that they're just kind of being all me, I think then they're clearly just not a very good friend. And I just think, I
mean, you could call them out. That's also another thing. If this person is being like unintentionally, so it would seem, competitive with you, you could be like, hey, we are doing our own thing. Stop making this into a competition. I didn't sign up for this race. Why are you trying to say you're getting gold and I'm getting bronze? Why are you saying that? Because this isn't the race that we're on. And if they can't take that, they're a bad friend. But if they're like,
clearly jealousy on their own part. If they're kind of...
They're threatened by you. Yeah. So they have to tell you their wins to put you behind. Yeah. Because if they don't, and you get, your ego increases as it should when you're, doing great things, they're thinking they're going to overtake me. So I have to push them back.
I feel like in the past, couple years, I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, if you're making me feel bad, or even it feels like I'm going to start acting out, I'm like, it's just done. I'm just done, I think it's easier said than done, but you'll have friends who it feels like it's natural to celebrate one another's achievements and to be the shoulder for them when things don't go right. I don't think you should have to try. I don't think you should work to celebrate. I think it can be hard, but I think in your heart you want to celebrate them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If you were going through a breakup and your friend was getting married, it would be hard, but you'd still want to celebrate them. Whereas I feel like kind of going back to what I was saying at the beginning, if you're finding it that hard to be happy for them, clearly there's something not right in that friendship.
Yeah. And I would say I'm kind of at the end of my points now. That is not what I have to say, but I have one more thing to say. Just to announce I'm out of points. When you do get that job, I think this is a nice place to end. Yeah. When you do get that job or the relationship, because it really comes through when we're all dating as well, is, why are these people getting into a relationship and I'm not? Or why are you engaged and I'm still single? Things like that. Once you are then engaged, or you get the job, or you get your place on the course, everything else is obsolete. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter then that your friend got it a year ago, or your friend was engaged and married a year ago, or someone else got on a course in a different way, different academic year, whatever. That has not affected you. It's not affecting how you're getting onto those things, and it won't affect your outcome. That's that.
Just let it be.
Yeah, that's how your plan and your achievements were meant to come into fruition. That everything happens for a reason, type thing. Yeah. And it's really frustrating when the reasons are taking place for other people first, but that's not to say that it won't happen for you. It's just different. And that's okay sometimes. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
because otherwise we'll just keep going forever.
And let us know what you think. And we're on low battery, so it's perfect timing. Let's know what you think. Have you ever had an encounter with a friend like this?
Yeah.
Did you exit the relationship, or did it make you stronger? Because it can do. If you call them out and they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Communication is always helpful, and sometimes you do need that kind of clash to be like, oh, actually.
Yeah, I didn't realise I was,
and also to snap out of it.
telling you each individual thing that was ever going right, but I never even asked you about yours.
Yeah.
And you were so vulnerable in saying that when you got rejected this thing.
Yeah.
And I got rejected the day before and I never said anything, and I don't know why. It's the pride thing again, but if you can reach that place of communication, happy days for everyone, and you don't have to lose the friend.
Yeah.
They might have the best wardrobe ever. You might have the best nights out ever. Now you don't have to lose that.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Unless they seem like they're not communicative, in which case just
cut it off.
Yeah, bye.
Well, if you have enjoyed this, make sure to follow, subscribe, share,
like,
do whatever you gotta do on whatever platform you're on. You can head over to our website, blondevibrations.co.uk. I'm hoping it's on the screen right now if you are watching. If not, if you're listening, you're just gonna have to retain that.
Yes.
Anything else? Who are we sending it to?
Send it to someone who is winning at life at the moment but not rubbing it in your face.
Yeah, send it to the true friends and be like, oh, this isn't us.
BTW.
Yeah.
And we are on Instagram, blonde_vibrations. We're on TikTok, blonde vibrations. And yeah, have a good week.
We are everywhere. You stay peaceful, stay productive to whatever your definition of the word is. Stay, I don't know, happy-go-lucky. We could all afford to be a little bit more happy-go-lucky. I don't really know what that means, but just like rolling with the punches and the wins.
Sunny.
Facts. Sunny Angel. You be that. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.